Hey everyone, welcome back. We're driving right back into this breaking news story about the Trump administration.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, this CBS News article just dropped a few hours ago, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, they're reporting on Trump's first cabinet meeting
Okay.
of his new term. And well, we knew this was happening, but what's interesting
hmm
is Elon Musk was there,
Oh, interesting. Not officially part of the cabinet, though, right?
right? Not officially, so that's already
Yeah, that's kind of odd.
yeah, definitely raising some eyebrows.
Ah.
Um, but
So what's he doing there?
So he's there to talk about this new task force. You probably heard of it. It's called DOGE,
Okay.
the Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah, I've heard of that. That's the one Musk is kind of heading up, right? I mean,
Oh.
not officially, though.
Right, exactly. So he's not like the official leader of it,
Right.
but
Okay,
Trump appointed him to basically come up with the plan for it.
gotcha. So Musk is the brains behind this whole operation.
Yeah. And from what CBS is saying, Trump is like totally backing Musk and DOGE,
Interesting.
even though there are rumors that some of the cabinet members aren't too happy about it.
Yeah, I can see why that would cause some friction. So what's the deal with DOGE anyway? What are they actually trying to do?
So their main goal is to like slash government spending, find ways to cut costs and make things more efficient.
Okay. That sounds like it could be pretty controversial. I mean, government spending covers a lot of essential services and programs.
Yeah, for sure. And Trump was pretty clear in the meeting about how he expects everyone to get on board with this.
Well, really? Like, what did he say?
Basically, he said something like, I'm the president and what I say goes. So,
Wow. So he's not leaving much room for debate.
it seems like he's drawing a line in the sand. Like this is my decision and everybody needs to fall in line.
Yeah, that's pretty assertive. Makes you wonder how the cabinet members are going to react to that, especially the ones who might have some concerns about DOGE's approach.
Yeah, I mean, are they really going to feel comfortable speaking up if they disagree with something? Or is this going to create an environment where everyone's just afraid to challenge the president?
That's a good question. And it kind of makes you wonder about the bigger picture here, right? I mean, if Trump is going to be this assertive and rely so heavily on Musk's ideas, how is that going to affect the dynamics within the administration? Could this lead to more power struggles down the line?
Right. It's definitely a situation to watch,
Right.
especially since Musk isn't exactly known for being, a go-with-the-flow kind of guy.
Yeah, he's definitely got his own way of doing things, and he's not afraid to shake things up. So this could get interesting.
Yeah. And speaking of shaking things up, remember that email Musk sent out to all the federal employees?
Oh, yeah, the one asking them to list 5 things they accomplished each week.
Yeah, that one. Apparently over 1 million employees responded.
Wow. 1 million.
Yeah, that's what CBS is reporting. And a lot of people are saying it was out of fear of losing their jobs. Like if they didn't reply or if their list wasn't impressive enough, they'd be on the chopping block.
I can see why people would feel that way.
Yeah.
It definitely puts a lot of pressure on people to prove their worth.
Yeah. And it kind of ties into this whole DOGE thing, right? Because Musk said the email was meant to help identify anyone who's slacking off.
Yeah,
People who aren't pulling their weight.
I see. So it's all part of this bigger effort to make the government more efficient and eliminate waste.
Right. And DOGE's stated goal is to find 15% in savings related to fraud and waste.
15%? That's a pretty ambitious target. I wonder if that's even realistic.
Yeah, it does seem like a pretty steep cut. And
Yeah.
CBS actually did some digging into DOGE's wall of receipts, which is like their public record of all the savings they claim to have found.
Oh, interesting. And what did they find?
Well, they found some discrepancies. Some of the numbers didn't quite add up, which makes you wonder, are they actually achieving the savings they're claiming? Or are they kind of fudging the numbers to make it look like they're making more progress than they really are?
That's a really good question. I mean, if DOGE is going to have this much power to make changes and cut spending, there needs to be transparency and accountability. The public deserves to know that the claimed savings are legitimate and that essential services aren't being sacrificed just to meet some arbitrary target.
Exactly. It's like that old saying, penny wise and pound foolish. You can save a few bucks here and there,
Yeah.
but if you end up cutting vital programs, the long-term consequences could be way worse. And speaking of potential consequences, this whole thing with DOGE and the Ebola and HIV prevention programs has really stirred things up.
Oh, yeah, that was a big deal. I mean, even though the funding was eventually reinstated, it really raised some serious concerns.
Yeah, like what happens when this push for efficiency clashes with funding for these essential life-saving programs?
Right. It's a really tough question, and it makes you wonder if DOGE is maybe moving too fast and not considering all the potential ramifications of their actions. It's a tough situation for sure. And there's a lot of concern about whether DOGE is focused too much on quick cost savings. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're not thinking enough about the long-term effects on programs like this.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's not like this is the only thing going on right now. Trump's got all these other ideas floating around too. Like you hear about this citizenship gold card thing.
The what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
citizenship gold cards. So basically he wants to sell U.S. citizenship for like $5 million.
Whoa, $5 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. And he's saying it's similar to these programs they already have for foreign investors.
Mm.
But this is next level.
Yeah, it is. And it raises all sorts of questions, like who's going to benefit from this the most? Is it just going to be a way for super rich people to buy their way into the U.S.?
Right. And what about everyone else who's trying to immigrate here legally? How does this affect them?
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there. It's definitely a bold move. And then there's this whole thing with the Ukrainian President Zelenskyy coming to visit.
Oh, yeah, they're supposed to sign some kind of critical minerals deal.
Right. Critical minerals. Those are super important for a lot of things. Electric cars, smartphones, renewable energy tech, all that stuff.
So this deal could be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, critical minerals are basically essential for our economy and for national security.
Right. So this is not just some random trade agreement. This could have some serious geopolitical and economic implications.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with everything else going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
You know, with the conflict in Ukraine and everything.
It's a really delicate situation. And on top of all this, Trump still has all these key positions to fill in his administration, like the UN ambassador, education secretary, labor secretary, the trade representative.
Wow. Those are all really important roles. They could really shape the direction of U.S. policy in all those areas.
Right. And with Congress being so divided, it's not going to be easy to get those nominees confirmed.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be a tough battle. So what do you think? What's the takeaway from all of this?
It's hard to say for sure, but it feels like we're in a really pivotal moment. We've got a president who's not afraid to shake things up.
Yeah.
And he's willing to give a lot of power to people outside the traditional government structure.
Yeah. It's like he's operating outside the box. And that can be exciting, but it can also be risky.
Definitely. And then there's DOGE. They're all about efficiency. But there are also these questions about transparency and accountability and potential conflicts of interest.
It's a tricky balance,
Yeah.
and we need to make sure that the push for efficiency doesn't come at the expense of other important things, like protecting essential services and making sure everyone has a fair shot.
Absolutely. We can't forget about the fact that Musk has his own companies and investments, so his personal interests might not always align with what's best for the government or for the people.
Yeah, it's complicated. There are a lot of different factors at play, and it's important to look at all of this carefully. You know, think about the potential consequences, both good and bad.
It really does feel like we're at a crossroads. Like the decisions made in the next few months are going to have a huge impact on everything.
I agree. We've got a president who's willing to break with tradition, a task force that's shaking things up, and the world is changing so fast. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. And it just shows how important it is to stay informed, to really understand what's happening and why it matters.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, and that's what we're trying to do here. Give you the information you need to make sense of it all.
Right. So let's do a quick recap of what we've talked about.
That's good.
So we've got a president who's not afraid to use his authority, and he's willing to delegate power to people outside the usual channels, like with Musk and DOGE.
Yeah. DOGE is all about efficiency, but there are definitely questions about how transparent they are and whether they're being held accountable. And of course, there's the whole issue of potential conflicts of interest.
Right. And then you've got these other big developments, like the citizenship gold card idea and the critical minerals deal with Ukraine.
Both of those could have a major impact on the U.S., on the economy, and our relationships with other countries.
And we can't forget about those key positions that still need to be filled. The people who get those jobs are going to have a lot of influence on policy.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like all these different pieces of a puzzle, and we're trying to figure out how they all fit together and what it means for the future.
Exactly. And that brings us to our final thought for you today. What do you think the long-term impact of all of this is going to be? Will DOGE actually make the government more efficient and effective? Or will it create a whole bunch of unintended consequences? And what about Trump's reliance on Musk? Is that a good thing? Or is it a recipe for disaster?
Tough questions, but important ones.
Yeah, there aren't any easy answers. But it's worth thinking about. So we encourage you to stay curious, keep learning, and form your own conclusions as things develop. That's what makes following politics so interesting. It's unpredictable, it's challenging, and it's constantly changing.
And at the end of the day, it's up to all of us to stay involved and try to shape the future we want to see.
Well said. So until next time, keep those questions in mind, keep your eyes open, and keep learning.